that's where we are?
Yeah, I think that you want to look at where does the leadership in the industry come from, and it comes from Microsoft and Intel and IBM and Apple Computer, and all of those companies are located in the United States, at least headquartered here. If you look at probably one of the thing that drives the market the most, which a lot of people don't understand, is that software drives the market because it's how you use these systems, and that's why Microsoft is where they are today. IBM did not quite understand how important that PC software was going to be. Mm-hmm. So understanding this, then, that it's important, although I think there's wonderful translation programs out there in Spanish and French and German and so on, I think that what happens is you have to find some common ground, some common terminology to work with, and sometimes those things can get lost in the translation. So I think there's a few, if nothing else, technology buzzwords which were invented in the United States, a word like interface, for example, that sort of have a meaning unto themselves and don't have a direct translation into another language. And so I think understanding a few of those keywords is helpful when you end us technocrats pontificate on how to implement these systems.
We now must continue with Module 2. In this module, Jeffrey Smith will describe how to plan for the implementation of an information technology program.
Thank you. I'll be talking with you today about planning for the implementation of information technology, a topic today that is important now and will be even more important in the future. The 1990s have seen a rapid evolution of information technology that has significantly affected our daily lives and how we conduct business and research. Dramatic changes in internetworking, desktop software, mainframe computer utilization, and client-server technologies, along with open system standards, have provided empowerment and improved productivity. For an example of information technology empowerment, one need look no further than this very conference. The ITC's use of low-cost, satellite-based communications and video compression technology provides a platform for long-distance learning and collaboration. Other examples of empowerment include the use of electronic mail, the World Wide Web, which was covered in depth in last year's program, educational technology, online student and faculty services, computer-based faxing, and so on. To achieve the benefit of this empowerment, an organization must institutionalize a planning and implementation process that establishes a solid foundation for technology assessment and insertion. This process should provide flexibility to respond to the rapid changes taking place within the information technology industry and support the strategic vision of the institution. We will be talking today about the major considerations in developing and maintaining such an information technology program that will meet these stated objectives. I am sure that many of you listening out there are familiar with or currently use some of these technologies. Hopefully, you information technology pioneers can bear with us while we establish a common ground. I plan to start with a discussion of the key elements that need to be addressed in developing a successful information technology strategy and a brief overview of the emerging technologies that will affect that strategy. One of these technologies is the Internet, whose influence and impact is so pervasive that it requires its own specific implementation plan. At that point, I plan to move into some detailed discussion of the important IT implementation and cost factors to be considered for successful realization of the strategic information technology vision. To provide a basis for budgetary planning, some major unit cost elements are presented. These should assist the planner in understanding the total cost of the technology, not just the equipment and software costs. Finally, I plan to provide some insight into the process that is needed to assure the successful development, implementation, and support of major applications. These systems serve as the sources of information collection, distribution, and utilization that meet the defined strategic objectives contained in the information technology plan. At the end of this presentation, I plan to summarize and hopefully respond to any inquiries that you may have during the question and answer session. Perhaps the most important task in planning for information technology is to establish a strategic IT vision for what the institution wants to accomplish for itself, its students, surrounding communities, and its collaborative endeavors with other institutions. The objectives of this vision should be defined in terms of the needs of the institution as illustrated. Please turn to this chart for a minute, and then we will return to the previous chart to continue discussion of the strategic elements. Recently, I had the opportunity to develop an information technology plan for Santa Clarita College in California. Examples from this plan will be used throughout this presentation to illustrate some of the key concepts being discussed. At Santa Clarita, we worked together to develop some long-term objectives that would serve as guidelines for the plan. As shown in the chart, this college wanted to become a leading information technology community college campus. To accomplish this, it was determined that networking was a cornerstone of the strategy for a campus-wide, community-wide, and global internet-based perspective. The college wanted to greatly improve its productivity and enhance the services associated with all aspects of campus activities. In effect, the new technology would not only improve the productivity of administrative staff and the faculty by utilizing IT resources, but provide empowerment for its students through a sound program of educational technology. To cope with the reality of budget and staff constraints, the college wanted to preserve as much of its current investment in technology as it moved forward with new technology insertion. This reality had to be balanced with the need to support the future needs of the campus. Let us return to the strategic elements of the plan. It is very important to align the long-term IT program with your key vendors. This alignment will assure long-term technical support for your IT investment and provide opportunities to capitalize on commercial product development that will integrate seamlessly into the campus IT environment. This vendor alignment needs to ensure compliance with IT industry standards, such as the International Standards Organization and the IEEE Open Systems Interconnect protocol stacks. These standards are important for information sharing and access between various systems, and are important for the implementation of newer technology based on these standards. If your key vendors do not currently support and are not planning on migrating to industry standards, then you may have to plan your own migration to a vendor that has that commitment. At Santa Clarita, for example, the major suppliers were primarily Digital for the data center and Wintel, which stands for the combination of Intel processors with Windows 95 and Windows NT for the desktops. Digital has a strategic commitment to support NT on their new faster alpha processors and use NT as the basis for VAX data warehousing and migration to faster, more robust, local and wide area networking while preserving the existing VAX investment. The Alpha software supports OSI protocols for communication and Open Software Foundation standards for their software products. Support for the Apple Macintosh computers is being provided through the Apple Talk Gateway. Another important consideration is the human element. The organization must be prepared for these new technologies. This preparation includes technical staff training, end-user staff training, and student training, and should be conducted as a continuing education program. This preparation also includes organization and recruitment of proficient technical staff. It should be noted that technical support requirements are often overlooked in IT planning due to ad hoc funding, decentralized resources, staffing constraints, and a lack of understanding of the technical support requirements. At Santa Clarita, we presented an organization plan that created a new department to support campus-wide network, desktops all across educational and administrative departments, and provide for improved data center access and information sharing between departments. The plan provided for 3 additional technical staff, a network specialist, an office automation expert, and a PC technician. The plan also recommended development of a vocational education program that would not only provide skilled professionals for local industry, but serve as a training ground for campus technical support as well. To provide effective utilization of and technical support for information technology requires an institutionalized process that prioritizes requirements, develops and enforces IT standards, and assures technology selection is in compliance with the strategic plan. This process is often overlooked as various departments focus on their own specific needs or is performed by the IT department, which does not have the enterprise-wide view. To be successful, the process must have the support of both departments and the IT group through an open forum, such as a technology committee, that has support from top management. The solution at Santa Clarita was to form the above referenced department to develop IT standards, policies, and plans, along with the establishment of Technology Steering Committee to ensure compliance and prioritize IT requirements. Finally, we get to the fun stuff, the technology itself. The plan should contain a network-based systems architecture that supports the current systems, but serves as the foundation for implementing emerging technologies and accommodating rapid changes in the marketplace. This architecture should provide communication between desktops to mainframe computers, communications between systems, as well as authorized, user-friendly access to all systems. Note the word authorized. Every plan needs an asset protection strategy that includes security technology, such as firewalls, to prohibit non-desired network access to various systems. In addition, this asset management program needs to be comprehensive in scope to also include physical protection of equipment, antivirus protection, data integrity, and disaster recovery. At Santa Clarita, the next project after development of the strategic plan was to do a campus-wide network design and a phased detailed implementation plan. The phasing was provided to accommodate the ad hoc funding environment. It is very important to note that just because institutions achieve their funding in an ad hoc manner does not mean that the network and desktops should evolve in an ad hoc fashion. As mentioned earlier, the information technology plan must provide for the assessment and insertion of emerging technologies. Up until a few years ago, the computing environment consisted of a centralized mainframe data center and a network that consisted of linking user terminals, not PCs, to mainframes over a homogeneous proprietary star configuration. Over the past few years, with the evolution of departmental computing and powerful desktop personal computers, a migration has begun away from centralized computing toward distributed computing, using powerful network server computers. The client server solution provides flexibility for intra-departmental computing as well as interdepartmental computing by linking local area networks and mainframe data centers together. The client server solution is also ideal for providing high-speed internet access for groups of users. The upside of this solution is that the departments and laboratories can focus on their own IT priorities, data requirements, and access services. In addition, accelerating developments in powerful user-friendly integrated software, which is designed for the client-server environment, such as Microsoft Office, Back Office, fourth-generation relational databases, for example, Oracle and Sybase, make departmental computing an even more powerful component in future IT strategies. For those out there who are not systems engineers, it should be noted that Back Office is a technology that allows PC LAN users to communicate with a wide range of mainframe computers using TCP/IP, and advanced relational databases make it easier for end users to extract and manipulate data from a variety of applications, supporting sanctioned standard databases. The downside of this approach is that in many cases, standards and policies are not in place to support this new paradigm, resulting in islands of systems that do not share information well with others outside the department. The IT plan needs to examine the existing on-campus network facilities to provide for this new style of computing and provide a migration strategy for older legacy systems. At Santa Clarita, legacy systems migration and interoperable departmental computing were accommodated by moving the campus network users to an Alpha Network server that supported all of the above requirements. Use of educational technology for computer-aided instruction is an important factor for educational institutions at all levels. Using CAI, students can learn at their own pace in an enriched multimedia environment. Dr. Bernie Dodge provided a detailed discussion on this topic in last year's session on uses of Internet-based educational technology. He showed how the World Wide Web could be used in a collaborative setting while providing an outreach capability for remote or disabled students. Multimedia applications, that is voice, video, and data with 3D graphics, are being developed to provide the capability to expand education from lecture notes and books to include photographs, sound, movies, and so on. As many of you may have seen, students are already using CD-ROM-based multimedia materials to enrich their research experience. Desktop video, using the Internet to provide audio-video communication between desktops around the world, will greatly enhance opportunities for long-distance learning and collaboration. Of course, use of this technology requires enhancing desktop computers with mini cameras, sound cards, and higher bandwidth transmission capability. These desktops include access to enhanced home and personal information delivery systems, such as high-speed phone lines, cable television, and wireless access devices. These systems will give the end user the bandwidth necessary to participate in this enriched environment. Perhaps the most powerfully, rapidly emerging technology centers around developments for the Internet. As many of you who attended my presentation last year may remember, the Internet is having a dramatic impact on how we communicate with each other and how we use information technology. As an indication of the astronomical growth, the Internet World Trade Show had approximately 3,000 visitors in 1994, 15,000 in 1995, 40,000 in 1996, and over 100,000 are expected next year. The new buildings housing the computer labs at Santa Clarita College are being constructed using a fiber optic backbone that will provide the bandwidth to support the above objectives. Multimedia computers were specified to integrate on a high-speed local area network to a bank of CD-ROM towers that contain the relevant information resources as well as provide for high-speed Internet access. Educational institutions must be able to provide user-friendly high-speed Internet access if they wish to participate in the information age. To achieve successful campus-wide and community-wide access requires diligent planning. Many policy issues relating to security, technical support, training, and Internet content must be adequately addressed in the plan. Otherwise, the Internet program will have serious problems and experience significant end-user frustration. Issues relating to copyright, software piracy, pornographic materials, and electronic commerce are already making their way into the court system. Connecting your campus-wide network to a wide area network, such as the Internet, requires that detailed analysis be done on the bandwidth and services needed by the campus and the capabilities of available Internet carriers. In particular, the LAN-WAN integration solution, including a full asset protection strategy, needs to be well thought out in terms of budget, staff support, reliability, and performance. The LAN-WAN integration also needs to address which Internet software applications will be implemented at the server, firewall, and client desktop levels. If you plan to have an accessible website server, the RFP and/or implementation plan should consider how end users will enter your site. The web page design should be attention-getting and quick to download with an easy-to-follow roadmap through resources that you wish the external user to browse. Additional applications identifiable from the home page should be clearly defined and supported with a complete training program, including online help. Large enterprises who have or are considering providing internet service on existing private networks should seriously consider the training program requirements for end users, technical support, and system administration, along with personal staffing requirements for the user hotline and technical support services. Institutions who have not built in adequate internet support and training have paid the consequences with high levels of end-user frustration. At Santa Clarita, internet was a major component of their IT strategy. As a result, a proposal to develop a detailed internet services plan is being considered by the board. So far, we have covered the importance of defining strategic elements and the emerging technology aspects of the IT plan. It is now important to define criteria that are integral to the process of implementing major IT applications and networks. User and system requirements analysis is input to the network design and project plan, both of which provide the basis for technology selection. These requirements need to be weighted against other planned applications in terms of the IT plan compliance, budget, operational impact, staff capability, and so on, and prioritized accordingly. The Technology Steering Committee, referenced earlier, is a useful forum for evaluating proposals and establishing IT priorities. These requirements often begin with a site survey. Site surveys help establish the baseline for implementation. The site survey provides valuable information on existing LAN communications and computer equipment to see if any upgrades will be needed to support the planned application. The survey evaluates the current campus IT environment, including operating systems, LAN-WAN communications and services, desktop, both Windows or Macintosh, functionality and interfaces, current internet utilization, and client preferences for desired software to be installed. The site survey assesses the cable plant for potential implementation of new trunk lines and/or LAN communications, and reviews existing and/or possible new carrier sources. When the site survey analysis is complete, the next step is to develop the detailed technical specifications for the specific application in compliance with the strategic plan. One of the most important considerations for new applications is the integration of the new service with an existing legacy system. One of the politically viable and lower cost approaches is to consider a migration strategy that preserves the existing enterprise investment in information technology while evolving to more modern desktops and servers that will support the applications that utilize emerging technologies. As with the strategic plan, new major applications need to be evaluated relative to technical support and training requirements as well. Once the requirements are understood, the steering committee should insist that a cost-benefit analysis be performed to better understand the potential impact that the new system will have on the operational environment of the campus and the IT budget. The benefits do not necessarily have to be quantitative, but should represent a major step toward meeting the objectives of the IT plan relative to the cost of the system. For example, it may be hard to quantify what impact standardizing the desktop to a single platform would have on the campus environment, but it is very likely that key objectives such as improved performance, alignment with key vendor strategies, improved overall desktop system reliability, and interoperability would be met. The plan will need to optimize the user requirements within budgetary constraints. It certainly won't do any good to bust the budget. If there are known budgetary considerations, one can either design to fit and/or phase the program. By phasing the program, the coordinator can lay a foundation for the future, even if not all of the capabilities will be installed initially. As stated earlier, just because the funding is ad hoc does not mean that the IT plan should be ad hoc as well. At Santa Clarita, the site survey was particularly useful in that it pointed out some high-risk areas that required immediate attention. Speaking of budgetary constraints, what are some of the cost factors that need to be considered in a cost-benefit type analysis? To answer this question in detail would be a course unto itself, so I will limit my remarks to a few observations. Since this is an international audience, it is appropriate to state that these costs vary greatly from country to country, depending on product availability, local economy, and governmental regulation. The IT marketplace is subject to rapidly changing IT marketing dynamics, often creating very steep price-performance curves. Often, great IT price performance can be achieved by lagging the state-of-the-art by about 6 months. For example, consider the IBM PC Intel processor performance over the last 4 years. A P5 133 megahertz machine with at least 10 times the performance of a 386 25 megahertz machine purchased in 1992 costs about 30% less today. This steep curve will continue with the advent of the P6 200 megahertz machines scheduled to be released by the end of this year. Often the budgetary process for new applications is skewed toward the cost of the equipment and software. However, this budget represents only about 30 to 35% of the overall IT budget. The largest component is staffing, which runs in the range of 40 to 50% of the budget. Thus, if a new technology improves staff productivity significantly, it can make a huge difference in the cost-benefit analysis. For example, at Santa Clarita, a new network management system is proposed that would allow technicians to diagnose many problems without having to travel to remote buildings or off-campus sites. This system should achieve a double benefit of improving network reliability and staff productivity, thus making a very positive return on the planned IT investment. Note that the services component is about 20%. However, this changes somewhat if the telecommunications organization, which has a high services component, is combined with the management information systems into a single IT department. To help with the budgeting process, I have provided some basic unit cost information relative to information technology. These units can be multiplied times their respective quantities to generate rough order of magnitude IT budget estimates. The key component categories are cabling, local area network equipment, wide area network services, LAN-WAN integration equipment, and personnel. It should be noted that prices for these items shown are based primarily on U.S. prices and will require adjusting for each country. Cabling can be estimated by the amount of linear feet installed. The price range for most IT cable plants runs from 50 cents a foot to $2.50 a foot installed, depending on whether you are planning for a fiber optic backbone or twisted pair copper wire. Note, many technologies still run well on twisted pair, so it can still be used for a wide range of applications. However, if one has the opportunity to move to fiber, one should seriously consider it, as fiber optic cable provides far more bandwidth to support the emerging technologies and future developments foreseen for the next 10 to 15 years. If conduit is required, another $2 per foot installed will be required. The most important element of the local area network is the LAN server equipment that allows resources, printers, files, etc., sharing, and local email processing, and provides a gateway into other resources such as other LANs on campus, the mainframe data center, and access to the internet, and online public access catalogs. These servers, with all required licenses and services contracts, run about $10,000, although it should be noted that smaller departmental LANs can run on high-end PCs for considerably less. Network software, including TCP/IP, Netscape, email, etc., is in the range of about $5,000. Brouters, which is short for bridges and routers, which used to be separate boxes, run about $3,000. These units help bridge LAN segments and support connection to wide area networks. Client PC desktop units run about $2,000 for high-grade multimedia Pentium systems. These costs will need to be constantly revised based on the ever-changing market conditions. The IT plan for Santa Clarita provides for periodic IT cost analysis and new technology evaluation. Wide area communications vary greatly depending on the application bandwidth required. On the low end, the cost for connecting an individual modem to a dial-up internet account is $25 to $50 a month in the United States. However, most LANs use a trunk line to connect to a carrier. Small business or departmental LAN connections run reasonably well